I'm sure that all of you here, you read the news every day, or, well, nearly every day, let's say. I really enjoy to read my newspaper in the morning with my breakfast. And I'm sure that, like me, your favorite part in the news is, of course, international news, because we are all very curious to know what's happening all around the world, what's happening in other countries, in other societies, societies that we don't really know in the end. So international news provides us with a lot of information, a lot of insights, a lot of facts about what's happening in the world. And so we get a better understanding of the world we live in. But still, you know, when in the morning with my small cup of tea I read international news, I always get, well, a little bit frustrated about it. It's like the full picture is not there. It's like something is missing. I don't know, maybe about Kenya, the elections for the moment, or the war in Mali, or Venezuela, or Syria. It's like I cannot really grasp the reality. And actually, when I think about it, it's like what is missing is simply the human dimension of it. The human perspective into the news is missing. When I see the headlines, I'm thinking about, I mean, the thousands of people that are going through these sometimes terrible situations, all these lives that are affected, and I'm wondering, well, how these people are going through these, and how do they cope with it on a daily basis, day after day? And I don't have access to their own testimonies. We never see the faces of these people. We never hear their voices. Well, I would like to hear their voices. I would like to hear their local voices. So this is what my talk is about. It is about how local voices and human stories can bring a much more human perspective into the news and into our own understanding of what's happening all around the world. And how as well human stories could foster positive change, simply. So, but maybe let me start with the very beginning of the idea of local voices, which bring us back in 2011 in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 2011 was an important year for the Congo. It was the year when they organized the second democratic elections there. So it is a big thing. On a more personal level, it was as well 5 years that me and my friend François, it was 5 years that we arrived in Congo, 5 years that we were working, both of us, for international NGOs there, 5 years that we arrived there as electoral observers for the very first election that the country held in 2006. So when the second elections were about to come in 2011, we were, both of us, well, a little bit emotional, of course, but we thought, well, we have to do something about it. I mean, we arrived here for the first elections, now it's the second one, we have to do something. So we thought a little bit, and we quickly realized that, of course, many journalists were about to come in the Congo to cover these big events, the elections. But we knew as well that all these journalists were about to stay in Kinshasa, in the capital. Well, maybe some of them will go in other main cities of the country. But we knew that none of them, and absolutely none of them, will go in the countryside, will go into the villages, even though 80% of the population, of the Congolese population, live into the villages. So we were a bit, well, disappointed about that, a bit frustrated. So we decided to do exactly the opposite than journalists, which means we went there. This is Bunyakiri in eastern Congo, in South Kivu, a beautiful place. It's very green. It's stuck in in between the jungle and the mountains. Unfortunately, well, security is still a little bit of an issue. You have many blue helmets there to protect civilians against armed groups. But the reason why we choose Bunyakiri is because it's a very remote and isolated area. These pictures show you how isolated Bunyakiri is. This is actually the only means of communication with the external world that you can find in Bunyakiri. This is the only internet cafe, the only connection with the external world. You don't have any phone network in Bunyakiri. If you get injured or if anything happens, well, you cannot call your mom and say, "Mom, I'm just in trouble here." The access by road is very difficult. If you don't have a 4x4, well, just forget it. So what we decided to do there in Bunyakiri is to follow the whole electoral process for 2 months, since the beginning of the campaign until the proclamation of the results. So we take our camera, we take our microphone, we went there, and we, with the firm intention to give a different account of this election, to give the account of the election through the eyes and the words of ordinary Congolese people living in the countryside. Just, for example, like this woman who walked several hours to acclaim her candidate, or like these young men who were very enthusiastic about the idea of going to vote for the very first time. They were about 18 years. Or these bikers who get some money from the candidates in campaign to honk and make some noise for them. Or like these internally displaced women who were forced to flee her village 6 months before the elections because of insecurity. We witness how influential the church is when it comes about politics in the Congo. We witness as well how local police get organized just, well, in case of any trouble. We met, of course, many local representatives of political parties, like here the presidential party or the opposition party. We met many candidates. This guy is the youngest candidate running for the legislative election in the whole country. But we met as well, he wasn't very popular though. But we met as well the most popular guy of Bunyakiri, this man, Anselme, who had the honor of being carried on a tipoy. Maybe you can see it. Of course, we witness how many logistical challenges the electoral agents were facing to organize these elections there. But with the help of local population, of every citizen, they finally succeed to organize them and to open the polls on time on elections day. And on that day, we, well, beyond all the difficulties that happened that day, many Congolese citizens show us how proud they were of comply the citizen duty and to vote. So what I want to show you with these few pictures and with our experience in the Far East Congo, we succeed to give a very different account of what mainstream media had about these elections. I mean, these voices, these stories, all these human faces, you just cannot find them, maybe on the web or in newspapers. And we really think it's something important. It brings a much more complete understanding of the event, of the news in the end. So I think it's something very important to have this much more human, much more localized as well perspective into the news. But using human stories and local voices like that is not only about information, it's not only about news. It is as well about making the voice of the voiceless heard. I mean, all the people we met there in Bunyakiri were very enthusiastic to speak with us and to be recorded in the microphone because they knew that their voice will be heard in other parts of the world. And when you live in such a remote area, it's something very important to you. So it is about giving a bigger place in international media, in international communication flow to all these people, to all these voices. Another important thing about local voices and human stories is that you can use them in many different ways to, well, to build a better understanding of very specific realities, realities that are very often hidden or not known. And with this understanding, with this new understanding, you can take actions, more adapted actions and solutions. That means that you can foster positive social change at different levels. What can you do with human stories? For example, you can raise awareness on a specific topic. You can develop and organize specific policy campaign targeting national authorities, international institutions, international NGOs, in order that they will take their responsibility and do something to, well, to change the local realities if it's needed. You can, so you bring more attention on specific realities, and that's something very important and very good, very positive. What else can you do? You can, for example, well, we say that you can fight stereotypes, or in the Congo there's a lot of rumors. At the local level with human stories, you can fight rumors in the Congo. Or you can use these human stories to foster dialogue at the local level in a context of conflict, for example, where people are not able to talk to each other because of violence, because of hatred, because they are just stuck in their own mind, in their own perceptions. I think that's mainly it. I wanted to show you all what you can do with local voices and human stories, and how important it is to get these stories, to bring a more human perspective into the news, into international news, as well to build a better understanding of the situation happening abroad in different parts of the world, and to take actions, better actions, more adapted actions, and to foster social change. So I hope I have convinced some of you, and that, well, some of you guys here will pretty soon go back home and take your own camera, your microphone, that you will travel all around the world and collected all these voices and spread them on the web or in newspapers, that you will bring this more human perspective into the news. Because in the morning, well, I really don't want to be frustrated for my whole life when I read my newspaper. Thank you.